Once upon a time there was a woodcutter.
Hard by a great forest dealt a poor woodcutter with his wife and his 2 children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had little to bite and to break, and once, when great darkness fell on the land, he could no longer process even daily bread.
Everything is eaten. We have 1/2 loaf of bread left, and that is the end. The children must go. We will take them to the forest so that they will not find their way out. There is no other way of saving ourselves.
The 2 children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmothers had said to their father.
Don't worry, Gretel.
The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stopped and stuffed the little pockets of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel,
"Be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace. God will not forsake us."
And he lied down against his bed. When day dawned, but before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the 2 children, saying,
Get up, you sluggards. We're going into the forest to fetch wood.
She gave each little piece of bread and said,
Here is some bread for dinner. Do not eat it until it is time. You will get nothing else.
Gretel took the bread under her apron, as Hansel had the pebbles in his pockets. Then they all set out together on the way to the forest. When they had walked a short time, Hansel stood still and peeped back at the house, and did so again and again. His father eventually said,
"Hansel, what are you looking at there and standing behind? Pay attention and do not forget how to use your legs."
"Ah, Father, I'm looking at my little white cat, just sitting up on the roof, and wants to say goodbye to me."
Fool, that is not your cat. That is the morning sun shining off the chimney.
Hansel, however, had not been looking back at the cat, but had been constantly throwing one of the white pebble stones out of his pocket on the road. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said,
"Pile up some wood and I will start a fire."
Hansel and Gretel gathered bushwood together as high as Little Hill. The bushwood was lit, and when the flames were burning very high, the woman said,
Now, children, lay yourselves down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut some wood. When we are done, we will come back and fetch you.
Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, each ate a little piece of bread, and as they heard the strokes of the wood axe, they believed their father was near. It was not the axe, however, but a branch which he had fastened to a withered tree, which the wind was blowing backwards and forwards, and as they had been sitting such a long time, their eyes closed with fatigue, and they fell fast asleep. When at last they awoke, it was already dark night. Gretel began to cry and said,
How are we supposed to get out of the forest now, brother?
but Hansel confronted her.
"Just wait a little, until the moon has risen. Then we will find a way."
And when the full moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand and followed the pebbles which shone like newly coined silver pieces. They showed them the way, long, and by break of day came once more to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and the woman opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel. She said,
Naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you'd never return.
The father, however, rejoiced, for it had cut him to the heart to leave them behind alone. Not long afterwards, there was once more great dearth throughout the land, and the children heard their mothers saying at night to their father,
Everything is eaten again. We have 1/2 loaf of bread left, and that is the end. The children must go. We will take them to the forest so that they will not find their way out again. There is no other way of saving ourselves.
The woman, however, would not listen to nothing that he had to say, but scolded and reproached him. He who has a must say be likewise, and as he yielded the first time, he had to so second time also. The children, however, were still awake and had heard the conversation. When the old folks were asleep, Hansel again got up to go out and pick up pebbles as he had done before. But the woman had locked the door, and Hansel could not get out. Nevertheless, he comforted his little sister and said,
Don't worry, Gretel. Do not worry. The good God will come and help us.
Early in the morning came the woman and took the children out of their beds. Their piece of bread was given to them, but it was still smaller than the time before. On the way into the forest, Hansel cumbered in his pocket and often stood still and threw a morsel on the ground.
Hansel, why do you stop and look at the ground? Go on. I'm looking at my pigeon, which is sitting on the roof.
Fool, that is not your pigeon. That is the morning sun shining off the chimney.
Hansel, however, little by little, threw all the crumbles on the path. The woman led their children still deeper into the forest, where they had never in their lives been before. Then a great fire was again made, and their mother said,
Just sit there, you children, and watch. You are tired. You may sleep a while.
When it was noon, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel, who had scattered his by the way. Then they fell asleep, and evening passed. No one came to the poor children. They did not awake until it was dark night, and Hansel comforted his little sister and said,
Just wait, Gretel, until the moon rises, and then we shall see the crumbs of bread which I have strewn about.
When the moon came, they set out, but they found no crumbles, for many thousands of birds which fly about in the woods and fields had picked them all up. Hansel said to Gretel,
We shall soon find the way.
but they did not find it. They walked the whole night, and all the next day too, from morning till evening, but they did not get out of the forest, and were very hungry, for they had nothing to eat but 2 or 3 berries which grew on the ground. And as they were so weary that their legs would carry them no longer, they lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep. It was now 3 mornings since they had left their father's house. They began to walk again, but they also came deeper into the forest, and if help did not come soon, they must die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw beautiful snow, white birds sitting on a bough, which sound so delightful that they stood still and listened to it. And when its song was over, it spread its wings and flew away before them. And they followed it until they reached a little house on the roof, of which it acted. And when they approached the little house, they saw it was built of bread and covered with cakes, but that the windows were of clear sugar.
We will get to work and have a good meal. I will eat a bit of the roof, and you, Gretel, will eat from the window.
Hansel reached up above and broke off a little of the roof to try how it tasted, and Gretel leant against the windows and nibbled at the panes. Then a soft voice cried from
Nibble, lamb, who's nibbling at my house?
and went on eating without disturbing. themselves, Hansel, who liked the taste of roof, tore down a great piece of it, and Gretel pushed out the hole of one round window pane, sat down, and enjoyed herself with it. Suddenly, the door opened, and a woman as old as the hills, who supported herself on crutches, came creeping out. Hansel and Gretel were so trembly frightened that they let fall what they had in their hands. Old woman, however, nodded her head and said,
Oh, dear children, who has brought you here? Do come in. No harm will happen to you.
She took them both by the hand and led them into her little house. And then good food was set before them, milk and pancakes with sugar, apples and nuts. Afterwards, 2 pretty little beds were covered with clean white line. When Hansel and Gretel lied down in them and thought they were in heaven. The old woman had only pretended to be so kind. She was really, in reality, a wicked witch who lay in wait for the children, and had only but the little house of bread in order to entice them there. When a child fell into her power, she killed it, cooked it, and ate it. And that was a feast day with her. Witches have red eyes and cannot see far, but they have a keen scent like the beast, and are aware when humans be drawing near. When Hansel and Gretel came into her neighborhood, she laughed with Millicent and said mockingly,
I have them now. They shall not escape me again.
Early in the morning, before the children were awake, she was already up, and when she saw both of them sleeping and looking so pretty, with their plump and rosy cheeks, she muttered to herself, that will be a dainty enough. Then she seized Hansel with her shriveled hand, cried to him into a little stable, and locked him in behind a gated door. Scream as he might, it would not help him. Then she went to Gretel, shook her till she woke, and cried. Gretel began to whip brittlely, but it was all in vain, for she was forced to do what the wicked witch commanded. And now the best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the woman crept to the little stable and cried. Hansel, however, stretched out a little bone to her, and the old woman, who had dim eyes, could not see, and thought it was Hansel's finger, and was astonished there was no way of fastening. When 4 weeks had gone by and Hansel still remained thin, she was seized with impatience and had not wait any longer.
Now then, Gretel, still yourself and bring some water. Would Hansel be fat or lean? Tomorrow I will kill him and cook him.
Ah, how the poor little sister did laminate when she had to fetch the water, and how her tears did flow down her cheeks.
Dear God, please help us. If the beasts have so decided our fate, then let us die together. Just keep your nose to yourself.
Early in the morning, Gretel had to go out and hang up the cauldron with raw water.
We will bake it first. I have already heated the oven and kneaded the dough. Creep in. See if it's probably heated so that we can put the bread in.
And once Gretel was inside, she intended to shut the oven and let her bake in it, and then she would eat her too.
I don't know how to do it. How do I get in?
Look, the door is big enough. Even I can get in.
Then Gretel gave her a push that drove her far into it, and shut the iron door, and fastened the bolt. Oh, then she began to howl quite horribly. But Gretel ran away, and the godless witch was miserable, burnt to death. Gretel, however, ran like lightning to Hansel, opened his stable, and cried,
Hansel! Hansel! We are saved! The witch... She's dead!
Then Hansel sprang like a bird from its cage when the door is open. How they didn't rejoice and embrace each other. When they had walked for 2 hours, they came to a great stretch of water. The duck came to them.
We're too heavy for the little duck. He'll have to take us across, one at a time.
And at length they saw from afar their father's house. They began to run, rushed into the parlor, and saw, threw themselves around the father's neck. And the man had not known one happy hour since he had left the children in the forest. The woman, however, was dead.
And they lived happily ever after.